Warning, this podcast has stories of real-life events and true crime that happens every day. These stories may contain adult language and graphic or disturbing details not suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
132 in Bush, I've got him at gunpoint.
They're pulling them out.
911, advise ready for escape.
God!
Welcome to another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom.
And I'm Chuck.
And we are back. We're now, by the time this comes out, we're heavily into December. Things, I hope you had a pleasant Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, me too.
Right. We haven't had Thanksgiving yet, but we're hoping
Not yet.
Having a pleasant one as of the recording of this. But
no one's sick.
Right. Yeah.
That seems like to be a plague every single year. Kids get sick, can't go anywhere.
Yep. By the time everybody's hearing this, I will have returned from my trip to California. I said the only way I would be going back would be for weddings or funerals. This one happens to be a funeral, or it was a funeral that I went to by the time you hear this. But our guest this week, we are lucky enough to have a firefighter back. And did you see, we posted a couple of videos and firefighter centric memes on our Instagram. And one of our followers said, "Hey, did y'all let the firefighters take over your Instagram feed for a minute?" Because, everybody knows that we're cops and veterans that run it, but we interview firefighters and we have them sit in. But that's what we have this week. Is a firefighter sitting down to talk with us. This is Ken. How are you, Ken?
Good. Thanks, Chuck, Tom, for having me. Looking forward
You're
to
welcome,
it.
sir.
Oh, you were happy to do it. We're always looking forward to it. We always look forward to swapping these kinds of stories with people. And in somebody who's seen the kind of career you have, we always get excited because we know you've got stories that, we interview, we've interviewed cops that have had 30-year careers. We've interviewed guys that have been in the military their entire life. It's funny when you get that many stories, you forget how many stories you have until you start talking, and then all of a sudden it's that reminds me this one time, and you're like, I don't have
that
story.
Suppression.
Yeah.
Yes.
You suppress so much
Yes.
in your career, and your brain only has, it's like a cup, man. It only has so much volume that you can put in there. And then once you start talking about it, you start dumping that water out, and then it starts to fill back up with new memories and stuff like that. And you start pulling all that stuff out of there, and it's great.
Right.
Very good.
But so Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into firefighting?
Well, I grew up in the East County and San Diego County. It kind of was more rural than suburban at the time. Of course, now it's more suburban. Everybody found out that San Diego is a great place to live weather-wise, and so they've all come out here and relocated. So filled up the population a little bit. However,
secret in California, right?
You got that right. But a lot of wildland fires as a kid growing up. Air tankers coming in, CDF. It was Division of Forestry, then now it's Cal Fire, Forest Service. So I grew up a lot of fires. My brother and I had a close brother, a year younger than I was, Irish twins, born the same day, December 27th, 2 days after Christmas. Kind of ripped off on the present thing, but it was all good.
That's my birthday.
We palled around, and we'd ride our bikes everywhere. My dad kind of told my mom to let those boys run and grow up, and which we did, camping out and stuff. So we'd ride to fires. And we lived next door to the town fire marshal also. So kind of perked our interest, always seemed to be exciting. And I remember in junior high, my brother and I, we saw this smoke column off to the west town of Santee. So we rode our bikes over there. And San Diego Engine 34 was out there fighting this grass fire, that line out there. The wind picked up and the fire came running toward the engine. And we were talking to the fire apparatus engineer at the time. He says, "This is not good. The firefighters run out." He goes, "Give me your bikes." He threw them on top of the engine, had us get in the engine with him. The captain, the firefighter ran, got in the engine, and we sat there and watched the fire burn right around us and kept on going through the grass. And the captain said, "Those guys need to get out of here." So once the fire flaming front passed through, he got out, got our bikes off the thing and said, "You guys need to head back toward the road there." And so we rode our bikes through the burn back to the road. And worked our interest, become firefighters.
I mean,
So junior in high school,
Wow.
that was pretty cool. I remember it vividly. Can still
Yeah.
I mean, how do you forget that?
yeah, exactly.
Everything lights up around you, and that's your first experience with fire, and you're like, that's freaking awesome. And we're alive.
yes.
Right.
So that perked our interest. So as a junior in high school, I could at 17 then, back in the mid 70s, put in. So I tested with CDF and scored high, but they called me at the end of the summer for the fall, and I needed to go back and finish my senior year, so I couldn't do it. So I tested the next year while I was in high school, and in March they called and they wanted me to start at the end of March. It was an early fire season, and so I went to my vice principal and my counselor at the time and said, "Hey, I want to do this." And they go, "Well, you got to finish school." So they worked out a deal with the hiring captain. So graduated on Thursday and started on Monday with the CDF Academy. And
wow.
History.
Good old CDF.
Yes,
That's
sir.
crazy fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy fast.
I don't see that anymore.
So for those of you who aren't aware, the Cal Fire used to be called CDF, the California Department of Forestry. And they ran a fire service, and now they rebranded and they just call themselves Cal Fire. But
did they split? Like, because I know you have the green, the guys in the green trucks.
Right, that's
like
Forest Service. Yeah,
Forest Service. So did they split kind of like how state police split back in the day, and half went to sheriffs, the other half became CHP, and they split the duties. They divided it. Did that kind of happen with CDF, with Cal Fire and Division of Forestry?
No, I think what happened with CDF is Forest Service always been separate. Right. They're a federal entity, and then the state CDF was state. But I think they rebounded Cal Fire because they started not only doing, primarily they did wildland back in the day. You'd still run to structure fire, grass fire. It was in your area. But basically they started contracting the local departments, agencies, cities, and providing fire protection to them. So they became an all-encompassing fire department versus just wildland. They did medical aids, they have paramedics, they have truck companies, hazmat. So that's why they rebounded to Cal Fire, because they're more of an all-risk fire department versus just wildland like the Forest Service.
Right.
Wow.
It officially changed to the California Department of Fire or Forestry and Fire Protection. And CDFFP was just way too many.
Yeah, so
we'll just call it Cal Fire.
Cal Fire became it, right?
Right. They simplified it. So
well, it's like CDCR. Cool. They always say, "Oh, it's the CDCR." No, it's the CDC.
Yeah, CDC, exactly.
Yeah, and that's not Center for Disease Control. It's California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, but nobody cares about the rehabilitation.
No, they don't.
Because they most likely don't. They're not going to be rehabilitated anyways.
No. Have what they do, right?
Reoffend is what the R stands for.
Every time we have a Cal Fire guy on or any type of wildland firefighter, I always ask, because the show Cal Fire came out like 3 years ago. Yeah. Have you seen it, and is it accurate?
I have not. That would be with the inmates running the fire department, which is not accurate at all. I think that's the one you're talking about, correct?
Right. They kind of do both. Yeah. They do like the inmate fire, and then they also have the Cal Fire, which runs that, and then they have it's the craziest thing in the world, because then a guy gets out and he's like, "Hey, I'm on parole," but then they hire him into this academy class to go through Cal Fire to become a Cal Fire while he's still on parole. I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's cool,
the show's kind of pretty far-fetched. It's dramatized like they like to do. So anyways, but I do know, and I might be not totally correct, but I believe that when the inmates are in there, they can go work on the hand crew, and they get taught to be firefighters and stuff. And if they do good behavior and they change it, I don't think they're still on parole, but they get cleared and everything, then they can go back as a wildland firefighter. Okay. Or at least it used to be. I'm not sure what is currently now, but I know that does happen, and they turn out to be pretty good folks and go along, and they do make changes in their thing, which it's a positive thing. But
so you came on when it was still CDF.
Yes.
And you were fresh out of high school, it sounds like.
Yes.
And you had just known, like, this was what you wanted to do. This was your dream come true. This was it for you.
Yep, I did. Yep. Right. My dad was he worked for the electric company, and I remember the Laguna fire in 1970. It burned. It was the biggest fire in state history at that time in 1970. Burned a bunch of homes, burned close to our house. I remember my dad went to work forever, but I remember that a big fire. Friends' houses burnt down, everything. It was pretty spectacular, and it just was something I felt like I was called to do, and I wanted to do it, and I did it, and I got in, and I think I did the 60-hour fire academy, which I started, which is 2.5 weeks or so, and then they sent me to a station out of Warner Springs, way out in the northeast part of San Diego County, and I think the second day I had my first fire, 250-acre fire, actually threatened the fire station that I was stationed at, but we were able to pick it up.
Nice.
But I was hooked, and I said, okay, this is what I want to do.
That's awesome.
And so
Yeah,
you were able to do that from the time you graduated high school. Did you continue your education for the
I did continue my education, took all the fire science classes, went to college. Although I don't have official degree, I have enough units to do it. I went to National Fire Academy, did the fire chief series, and constantly educating all the time, going to class. I still go to classes, it's my 48, going on 49 years in the fire service, and I'm still learning, which I love that part of it. And it's kind of cool because all my brothers followed suit, as well as my son and my nephews. So we have a whole family of firefighters.
It's a legacy.
It is a legacy. It's pretty cool. So,
how many of them work for the same agency?
So let's see. I think at one time we all worked for CAL FIRE. I have my nephew and my brother still working there. My brother's going to retire in 2 weeks. My other brother retired already from CAL FIRE, and then my son, he went from started with the Forest Service, a hot shot, went to CAL FIRE, and now works with Orange County Fire.
Wow.
So nice. And then I have a nephew that's working for Austin Fire Department also.
Oh, wow.
So we're all kind of all over the place. They say they can't swing a tool without hitting a Kreminsky on a fire, which is, we have all been on fires. I've been on a fire with all my brothers, nephews, and sons at one time or another.
So one time or another, you have been on a fire with every relative of yours that's in the fire service.
Correct.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just...
That's pretty cool.
And
my son, the first fire I ever got onto him was in Northern California, not even in our county. So I was on the incident management team for a while, served on the incident management team. I still go out occasionally freelancing, but they manage the large fires in the West. So I've been on fires in Canada, the US, and Mexico.
So CAL FIRE is a lot different than other fire departments and things like that, where you can go be the incident commander up in Northern California, or they can absorb you up and bring you to a different country, Canada, or a different state.
Yeah. I was on a local government. I was working at Lakeside Fire, now currently Verona Fire, but they bring local government firefighters to be on their incident management teams to assist and fill all the roles when we go to a fire.
Right. Sure.
Wow.
Well, you have to have that institutional local knowledge. You got to have some of that stuff, but then, they may not have the skills to really do the actual management at the high level,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. To police their resources. So, like I say, law enforcement and fire, we're all one family, we mess around with each other. Firefighters like to eat ice cream, and of course the cops like to donut things. So that's always a fun little thing to start things off. But basically, we depend on each other coming to help each other.
Right.
We can't all agencies can't do it on their own. You got to have mutual aid, auto aid. You got to be able to help each other, go anywhere and help each other in times of disaster, which we've seen, and that's what we do.
I explain it to people that branches of the public safety, firefighting, EMS, and police, they are similar to branches of the military. Right. Correct. They will tease each other. They will make fun of each other. They will pick on each other, but then they will stand shoulder to shoulder if anybody else tries to pick on them.
Correct.
Those are our hose draggers. You don't make fun of our hose draggers.
That's right.
We make fun of our hose draggers.
We're all in it together, man.
Right.
I always used to love being assigned to a fire crew and be like one of the only couple cops on that crew, and just be helping with like evacuations and things like that, because it was just so like chill and laid back, and you guys are always in a sunny disposition.
Evacuating people from a fire, but chilling.
Well, but you're not like, I don't know. It's a totally different atmosphere. It's like you're helping people instead of putting people pissing them off.
I get it.
I mean,
Yeah,
so it's crazy.
Yeah.
It was just such.
They're actually glad to see you.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. That's so Ken, you can confirm this or deny this, but I always tell people the true difference between firefighters and police officers. Firefighters will go to a restaurant. They will all sit down at a table. They will all start to order. A group of elderly ladies from the local church will come in and see them all sitting together and say, Oh, those sweet young heroes. I hope they get to enjoy their meal before they have to rush off to another emergency call. Same restaurant, same little old church ladies. Bunch of cops are sitting there, and they're going to say, "Who the hell is out protecting the city? Oh, I see my tax dollars are really hard at work at this table." Yeah, that's really
true. Unfortunately, the perception is with the public is I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have a job to do, and we're there just trying to protect the people. I mean, we're both. I mean, a lot of times I arrive on scene and police officers are already there giving aid, so we're all in this together. We're first responders.
100%.
For sure.
It doesn't matter, man. People need to know that police are there doing the same thing.
So you come on the department, you're in high school. What was the biggest, like, oh crap moment early on in your career that you realized, like, this wasn't a joke, or that you realized, so I always talk about the moment I drove down the street and I drove past a big glass building and I saw myself driving a police car by myself in uniform, and it was kind of scared me. I was like, oh, right.
Gave
like
you
this
chills.
is real now.
I look badass, dude.
No, I was the opposite. I was like, I can't believe they let me do this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely those times
today.
Yeah, you're like,
do this.
I feel like I don't have enough training to do this, but I'm out here doing it, and this is kind of sketchy. And it's like that weird inside thought in the back of your head, but then also you look at it and you're like, but I kind of look pretty cool, and this is pretty awesome. Or like running out code 3 call or a backup or something, and you catch yourself in the reflection of like a door, and you're like, oh yeah, dude, this is awesome. And
Chuck's got a little motor cop in him. He's constantly looking at mirrors.
I mean, hey, you gotta. I mean, sexy is sexy. I mean, you gotta acknowledge it.
That's it.
I guarantee you, firefighters done the same thing.
Oh yeah, we all do it. Yeah, we go. This is cool.
When you first grow out that mustache.
Yep. I finally got rid of it. Turned white. And I was like, I don't know about that anymore.
There you go.
Just for men.
So early in, what would you say was the biggest, like, oh shit moment?
Yeah, well, the first fire was pretty good. That was 250 acres. It was running. We were mobile pumping, going along, mobile pumping. You got a line, the engine's following you up. You're putting fire out as you go the way. And I remember when we got dispatched, we were sitting there. It was a hot day. A car drives in, fire down the road. So we had just gotten our second engine back to the station, and we needed to outfit it. So the captain runs out, jumps in the thing. The firefighter had been there a year longer than I was, my buddy Mike Maniscalco. He jumps on, and the engine starts taking off, and I'm putting my gear on. So I have to run down the driveway. I jump on the engine, and he's hauling butt down the roadway. We go on the highway a few miles, pull up, fire's taking off, it's running in the wind. So we start mobile pumping. And Mike had the nozzle first, and then he gave it to me. But as he was mobile pumping, he kind of missed a spot, and it re-flared on us. And so we're mobile pumping ahead of it. The fire's starting to come behind us again because we didn't miss a spot. Air tankers come and drop. It's pretty crazy when you're on the fire line. Got all the noise going on. You're fighting fire. It's hot. You got equipment on you, and then these air tankers are dropping in helicopters and stuff. And to me, I was like, this is awesome. I was like hyped up going, this is really cool. This is what I want to do.
Wow. I mean, that's the dream, right? That was the moment you waited for.
Yep, it was. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. It's funny because my younger brother, he always said, my brother's two other brothers followed suit. And my youngest brother goes, I ain't doing that crap. I'm going to be a helicopter pilot or something like that. And he was pumping gas at the gas station in high school, and he got out and he goes, he needed a job. So he put in for the forestry, he got hired. He went to his first fire and he was hooked, It's kind of cool because he ended up running the air program out of Ramona Air Base, the AirTac ship.
He should have kept that.
You got to do both.
He got to do both. He was a helicopter captain pilot on the ship for a while. And so he did both, but it hooked him too. Wow. Everybody that gets hooked, they get hooked. So
yeah.
See, I always say that fire is magic and you can't shoot magic. So I'm not, I don't like, I'd rather deal with suspects than fire.
Yeah.
Speaking about fire magic, it creates its own weather systems. What is it like when you're on a fire line and it's creating its own weather system? Is it loud with the wind? What is it like? I've never been on a.
I was on a fire in 2006, the Moonlight Fire, Northern California. I was on an incident management team. We got dispatched to the fire. We got there. had a huge pyrocumulus on it. And what it is it created its own storm. This fire did. It was burning in timber, running hard, about 40,000 foot in the air. This pyrocumulus, just massive, looks like a giant thunderhead, but with smoke and fire underneath it. Started created its own lightning and actually dropped some sprinkles of rain down, not enough to put the fire out, but it created a storm. The wind's rushing in 40 miles an hour. It's feeding the fire. And as the evening went on, what goes up, it's got to come down, gravity on Earth, right? So the column starts collapsing. And I remember the team, we were supposed to take over the next morning. So the ops chief, I was the division then on which you work part of the fire, said, go out and see what these guys are doing tonight. Try and get a lay of the land overnight while we sleep. We'll get up in the morning, then you can come and fill us in. I saw the column starting to collapse, and there was a bunch of CAL FIRE folks out there doing a firing operation. So I had to go up and tell them, hey, you guys need to get out of here. This thing's collapsing. This fire's going to come down on us. Instead of going uphill, it's going to come downhill. There was a bunch of dozer transports all parked on the road. I had to go back into fire camp, wake them up, and go get your stuff off the thing or it's going to burn up, And one of the ops chiefs fortunately woke up. So he goes, you need some help? And I go, yeah, you better come out with me. This thing's going to get really big. Ended up running 6 miles that night downhill in timber. There was a timber crew that was out there that had to take refuge. The fire burned around them. We ended up doing evacuations and calling mutual aid during the night. I remember the incident commander and the operations chief. I tried calling them, wake them up. They didn't wake up. Next morning, they came out and they go, what the hell are you doing, Ken? I go, dude,
what'd you do to my fire?
It took off, man. That's the way I take care of business. You weren't answering your phone. So
yeah, that's magic.
Yeah, definitely. That's wild. And you say those guys who had to take refuge in the fire that burned around them, did they have the stuff to put over them, the tinfoil or whatever?
Fortunately they were in a clearing that was big enough, and they all huddled in the middle and got in their trucks, and the fire raced right around them and everything, man. It was a crazy night. And they didn't have very many resources because the fire just probably started within the last 24 hours, and we were just getting there and start ordering stuff. And so
have you had to put one of those tinfoil things over your body?
Yeah. I don't ever want to be in one of those. Shake and bake is what I call those. Like a
bake. Did it for training, or did you have to do it for real?
Yeah, no, you do training, but you don't do it with real fire. But we're trained to use them. We carry them with us, and they have saved people's lives. But if you're using that fire shelter, it's a last resort.
Yeah, it's oh shit time.
You're in big trouble. Yeah.
So have you had to use one?
I have never had to use one. I've had a couple close calls, but never had to deploy it. So
you're at the point where like, do I need it? Do I need it?
Yeah. It's like it's pretty close, but
what's the closest you've ever had to using it?
Well, I was in my truck one time, and the fire raced up, blew up on me. It was coming at me, and I had to do about a 20-point turn on this narrow road in timber and race out of there. That was a pretty close call. Just this year on the park fire, I had a tree come down and miss me by 5 feet. Ooh. About 100-foot cedar tree. It was on fire. I was trying to find an area to bring crews in to put the tree out. It was part of the fire. And I heard a crack, and I looked up, and the tree was coming right at me. So I hauled ass, and it came down about 5 feet behind me. I was a branch. One of my divisions, he was sure I got hit. It missed me, but it was close. I could feel the rush of the wind behind me on my back when I got there. But there's all kinds of dangers in there. I always say it's situational awareness. You got to be paying attention to your environment. And I've heard trees come down before, and I heard that crack, and I knew what it was doing, and I started moving.
Yeah, it's crazy because from what I've heard of trees cracking like that up here, it is essentially like when the fireplace pops, it's like that, but it's like 1,000 times louder. That giant crack.
That thing comes down, man. It's got some energy. You don't want to be there.
Yeah, that's scary. That's scary. I can only imagine you're like, uh-oh.
Yep.
Just where do I run?
First thing I did was look up, and it was coming right at me. I was like, yeah, that's pretty close. I've had a couple other close calls. When I was a newer firefighter, when I started Lakeside Fire Department, we were on a structure fire. So middle of the day, smoke banked down to the ground, pitch black inside, couldn't see. And we went in and we were doing a search, the captain and I, and trying to find the seat of the fire to put the fire out. And it was burning under. It started in some aluminum wiring, started underneath the structure, and it burned up and through, so it filled it up with smoke. And we were pretty far back in there, and my breathing apparatus, old school, It's probably early 80s, malfunctioned. So the bell didn't go off, telling me I had 3 or 4 minutes left of air. I basically
God.
took a breath in and sucked in, and that was it. There was nothing else. So I fell back on my training, unconnected the hose. Your first thing is you want to panic, go, oh shit. But
Right.
I basically I remember my training, disconnected it, threw it inside my turnout coat, and then I just bumped the cap and said, I'm out, and crawled back out, holding my breath as much as I could. And I made
You
it
put it
right
in
to
the
the
turnout
door.
coat?
Yeah, inside the coat. Yeah. Took the hose
What's the reasoning behind that?
to filter the air from just solid smoke coming in.
Got
So
it.
it kind of
That's what I
filters
thought.
it a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. It was enough for me to get to the thing, and I just like collapsed at the door, and they grabbed me and pulled me out.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing, but it was a close call. So that's probably the closest I've been.
So now I'll ask then, because I have been, Chuck and I both had to go inside structures.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about, like, you have no idea when they talk about zero visibility. Like, it's one thing to be out in the pitch black. You know, everybody's been in a pitch black room, a place that's so black you can't see the hand in front of your face, right?
Right.
That's one thing.
Right.
This is different.
Yeah.
Right. This is terrifyingly different. I do not like it. I'm going to tell you.
You don't know where you're at. You
Fire?
know it's up or down, other than you're on the floor.
I do.
You only go by feel.
Scary.
Like it.
It's scary and hot.
It is. Yep.
And
Feel the heat above you.
Would you rather be on a wildland fire or go into a structure?
I prefer wildland fire myself.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
There's so many hazards in the structure, especially these days, man. All the plastics and just tons of carcinogens in there, man. It's just nasty. You don't know what you're going to come across. You know, there's the hoarder houses that we have fires in. You can't. It's disgustingly.
And all the the hantavirus infected rats are burning and
all that stuff.
The freaking the newspapers that are stacked up that are 100 years old, just
why do they
letting off all that ink?
Yeah,
chemicals.
I remember we had a house across from one of the fire stations I was at. There was this family that lived there. They were hoarders. It was really bad. I remember we got a call for medical aid. We went to the house, and it was my firefighter couldn't even go in. He was puking. He had to wait outside. I just breathed through my mouth. We went in. I remember walking in, and the carpet was wore down to the floor, to the hardwood, and there was stuff stacked 3-4 feet, almost up to your arms. And there was just paths that went through the house. And I remember walking by the kitchen, and on the stove is this pan with a bunch of grease in there and cobwebs coming off onto the pan. Probably hadn't been cleaned in months. It was disgusting. And those are the kind of things we come across. People have no idea what it's like. You guys know, you've been there.
Yeah.
Just how people live just blows me away.
People always say, I was going to say, I always tell people you can smell roaches in a house.
Yes.
They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's musty. It's nasty. It's grease. It's the only thing I can say is go smell a grease trap on a professional kitchen. And that's exactly to the T, except way more intense in a house that is infested with roaches. And it's like that hoarder, dirty feet smell, death and roaches all combined into one. And it's just the nastiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I love everything you're saying. My wife does have a little bit of experience in the sense that her mother used to own a cleaning company, and my wife was quality. So she does have an idea. Yeah. And I would be willing to bet, like, she's asked me, what does a dead body smell like? And I always have to tell her it smells like a dead body, right? Like there's nothing that smells like a dead body, like a dead
body. You got that right.
Right. And different stages, right? A fresh dead body, you can tell. I walk into a house, I go, oh, somebody dead in here. And it can be fresh. But
exactly.
The sweetness, you know, some of the other things that go on. But that was the one, like, it seems like, because I told this, somebody said about a burning body. And I said, no, it's not, it just kind of smells like food. Right. And they're like, what? I said, just a burning body.
Yeah.
Barring any sort of weird clothing, it just kind of smells like food. I said, whenever you smell a fire, you're smelling all, because fires, when they burn, they seem to find all of the rubber and lead and asbestos and methamphetamine and eggs. Like it only burns the terrible, terrible shit and puts it in smoke for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like fires, like, I'm going to produce the worst things. Car fires. Oh.
Yeah, they're nasty.
To
those
this
tires
day, I
gross.
don't like coming in my house smelling like a campfire. If
Yeah,
I'm camping and I smell like a campfire, that's fine. But if
and it
I'm out,
doesn't go away. You can wash for a week and it's still
oh,
there.
I
Yep.
For me,
hate
it's the skin.
I hate smelling like fire now because I'd been on fires and you stink for days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
dude. Even a dry cleaner can't get that out. I was in a house fire
Yeah.
with no breathing apparatus, just my patrol gear,
Uh-huh.
and
Wow.
fires behind us shooting a line over us into a room that's completely engulfed. The rig outside is shooting into the window.
Right.
And next thing you know, it's pitch black. It's hot as hell. It feels like you're being incinerated, like in a
Yeah.
crematorium, but you're
Yep.
alive and you're looking around. They're like, "Hey, enter." And your stack's like, I'm like, "No, I can't. It's too hot. Like there's
Yep.
no way." And
Right.
you can't get that out of your gear. Doesn't matter how many times for like, I think it was probably a couple weeks. I had my
Yeah.
gear dry cleaned.
Yep.
Over and over and over again. I could not get that nasty smell out of my gear. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Well,
Permeate everything.
This brings up a good point that I know, Ken, one of the things you and I discussed talking about, and I will say this. So LAPD's lab team, right? Their
Yep.
early meth lab team
Yeah.
was going into meth labs wearing like bandanas over their face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Now the fire service has been using, the protective gear and the PPE for a lot longer, right? They were, you guys were on the forefronts of some of these, pieces of protective gear and things that you guys wear, but it can't filter out everything.
No.
And it's still on your clothes, right?
Yep.
So I bring that up to tell people LAPD's original lab team. Now, when I went to lab school to investigate labs, they told us they did their best to scare us and tell us that labs were something, even though we were really excited to go find and bust and arrest people for,
dangerous.
that you never, ever, ever, ever want to go in.
Yeah.
No.
And
someone's whole team was dead.
Yeah.
yeah. So LAPD's lab team, 75% of the original Klan lab team for the Los Angeles Police Department came down with cancer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And 50% of their wives.
Yep.
Oh shit! Really?
Because they brought it all home on their clothes.
Yeah. And use the washers at home to wash their clothes. All that stuff exposed them to those carcinogens. We have stricter standards, but same thing in my career. Wow. We used to go stand by in the 80s. Constantly every day we were at a meth lab standing by for the sheriff's department,
smoking a cigarette.
No, I never did that, but there were some old timers that did.
Yeah.
They go fight fire and then they come out and light up a cigarette. I'm like, really, man, dude, are you killing me?
Yeah.
But yeah, the cancer causing agents are terrible. Now we have strict rules. You can't take your turnouts home with you. When you get back, you have to, the company goes out of service, you strip down, you go take a shower, you have a second pair of PPE so that you put the clean stuff on, and we have extractor washers in the station now that they have to do. It's really changed the fire service for us.
It's kind of like how cops were acting during COVID.
Yeah.
So we would go home and we would delouse in the garage,
Yep.
spray ourselves with whatever disinfectant and spray the shit with disinfectant so you don't bring it inside and contaminate everybody in the home. And then you immediately throw it into a wash.
Yep.
So you guys have been doing that for, I don't know, forever.
Yeah. It's gotten better. Really, probably about the last 5 years, it's really become strict where we're really nailing down. But before, you'd wash it, and, the guys wouldn't clean their helmet because it looked cool and they had ash on it and it showed that they were a veteran and stuff. But now none of that goes because we've learned there's so much cancer causing agents.
Yeah, you're leaving toxic junk.
Yes. Yeah.
But I assume that's probably because the cancer cases have gone up and it's all workers' compensated.
Yeah. I think pretty much now the fire service, 10 to 20% of firefighters have a higher rate of cancer than the general population because of what
firefighters play around with cancer the way cops play around with suicide and heart attacks.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I'll say this about firefighters and cancer. Like, I don't know. I know it's for at least in California, for heart and back, it's 5 years presumptive. If you come down with a heart problem or back problem within 5 years of coming on the job,
And cancer's in there now. Cancer's in there, and I think
that's in there for you guys.
Yeah.
Cancer's in there for you guys. So if you've been a firefighter longer than 5 years and you get cancer, it's automatically assumed it's because of the job.
Right. Yeah. Presumptive.
Yeah. It should.
I think that's for us now too.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
Depending
it's
on department.
public safety in general, police and fire.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You go to a car fire, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that smells worse than a car fire.
It's nasty.
So disgusting.
It's all that plastic and polyurethane.
Yeah,
and all
plastic
that
and rubber and
yeah.
methyl ethyl bad shit that just it's and God forbid it's got a magnesium engine or magnesium rims.
Oh,
that's a fun surprise.
Like old
for you
VW
guys.
bug.
It is. Yeah, put water on it. Boom! Blows up on you.
Yep. Yeah, the VWs used to do that. There was
all time magnesium engines. Yep,
and then there was some luxury cars that had magnesium rims.
Yeah,
really,
and so they're like, that was a big one to watch out for.
I feel like the new magnesium is the electric cars, because when those batteries go,
they're bad news, dude. They are very hazardous, and we can't put them out. Those units sit there and burn for weeks. You think you put it out, you don't. You don't have enough water to put them out. It's a big problem across the states. They have those scooters. People plug them in, charge them at home, and seen videos. They explode, burn buildings down. They burned commercial complexes down. They're highly. It's going to be a new problem for the fire service and for environmental too.
As I have a car plugged into my house and a bike.
Right now. Don't put it inside the house.
No, it's in the garage. But if that goes,
it's still gonna. Yeah, you're right.
That's gonna cook us from underneath like a pig on a spit.
I'll share this with you guys because I think you guys will appreciate it. This was from a local police department, and unfortunately, one of their electric bikes that they use, the battery exploded.
Bike in the police department?
Yeah.
Lazies.
Wow.
It exploded in the
my gosh, yeah.
in the same storage yard
bike
where they keep their so there were 5 other bikes. One lithium battery fire caught 5 other lithium battery fires, which also happened to be the same building where they stored their pallet of road flares.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah. And all their SWAT stuff.
Yep.
I was gonna say that was like a SWAT truck.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, like, you think you guys? I mean, you guys know, but when I say you guys, I'm talking to the audience. Though the electric car battery, the electric bike battery, like those things are no joke.
You're right, for sure.
If you don't, so lithium batteries, right? And we're doing like a total public service announcement right now.
Yeah,
it's a TED talk.
I learned about lithium batteries in lab school, and how lithium was a water reactive metal. And they spend time showing you, if you take a chunk of lithium and you throw it in some water, it explodes.
Yep.
Because water makes it explode.
Yep. The water
Same
reactive.
thing with sodium. They're water reactive metals. They are metal pieces of metal that are soft enough to cut with like a regular kitchen knife.
Yeah.
But they have to be kept in a bath of like acetone or something that is not flammable, or something that is not water. And so they keep them in a bath of acetone, so when they need it, it'll evaporate real fast and they can use it. But then they can put it back in the thing, because even moisture in the air will tarnish it and cause it to be active. But then you throw a chunk of it in water and it explodes. So you can imagine when you have these lithium batteries in cars, and they're trying to use primarily water to put it out. Kaboom.
Yep. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, you don't have enough water. I mean, they'll throw it in a pool and it'll still burn till it completely burns those cells up, which takes sometimes weeks to do.
Right.
They're very hazardous and they're costing a lot of money to clean up afterwards. So.
Well, and even like no matter what you do, you can't smother them or anything like that, because people understand they're creating their own oxygen.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's how they burn underwater. That's how do you think underwater welding works?
Yep. Exactly.
Right. Wow. So in all those years, what did you tell us about an incident or a story that you have that maybe kind of changed or was a pivotal moment for you as a firefighter yourself, to, whether it made you grow up a little bit as a firefighter or whether it might kind of changed how you viewed the career.
Yeah, I think, you got the PTSD stuff going on, and I think about that because I had some tough times in there, like the first CPR I ever did was my friend's mom. She crashed her car, and I knew it was her, and we're trying to save her. And unfortunately, she passed because of the trauma to her. But did CPR, that was one thing I can remember, sticks in my mind. Another one is a 5-year-old boy drowned in the pool. And I remember our medics were out on a never call, and at the time we didn't have a lot of personnel, but I was staffing the rescue unit by myself. I was on the rescue unit, and of course they dispatched me because I was the closest unit. And I went there, and the engine was from far off because it was a really busy day. All the engines in the air are busy. Medic units were really busy. It's far off. So I remember getting there, and the chaos of the family. You go in, this little lifeless boy sitting there. And I remember I ended up doing mouth to mouth to him. I'm giving him mouth to mouth. Worked him for a long time. Seemed like forever. And it was quite a while because the medic unit was from a ways.
Right.
And just, I think
when
being in
kids,
that
you try harder.
Yeah, you do try harder, and I was like really working, doing CPR, trying to get this kid going, expel the water that was in his abdomen out and just doing it. But just all the people, the families right there, the mom, the dad, the tragedy of that, because, whatever happened, they were kind of having a little party and the kid went out there, fell in the pool, and it was a while before they found him. So, we did what we could. We loaded him in the ambulance, took him to the hospital, and unfortunately he passed. But that was an instance where you really see how precious life is and how in an instant it can change like that for somebody. I mean, far implications, because we care about people, messes us up, messes their family up, the memory of that kid, those kind of things, that's pretty tough. That was one. On the other hand, I delivered a baby at 3 a.m. Mom couldn't make it out of the house, in the kitchen. Right there, pulled up. As the captain on the engine, medics, we pulled up, and she goes, I think I'm going to have it. And we looked, and she was crowning. The baby was coming. We laid her down and delivered the baby right there in the kitchen. Wow. That was cool. You make a difference, right? And
you hang on to those ones.
Yeah.
Did they give you little pins, the stork pins?
Yep.
I didn't know that. So I was talking to a firefighter, and he was Chuck. He had a little pin on his lapel. Actually, he had like 3 of them on his lapel, and it was a little stork. And 2 of them had little baby blue blankets in the stork's mouth, and one of them had a little baby pink blanket in the stork's mouth. I said, "What are the stork pins for?" And he goes, "I got one for every time I've delivered a kid."
Yeah. Wow, I've never seen that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. And when she was 18, I was still at the station, and she came by and visited us. The baby we delivered came by when she was 18 to just say, hey.
Hell yeah.
That was really cool. Now, another one's pretty wild. I was a captain on the engine. We got toned out for hemorrhaging, lady vaginal hemorrhaging, and we arrived on scene. There was blood everywhere in the bathroom, in the toilet. She was bleeding. And so we're treating her. And all of a sudden, my firefighter goes, there's something in the toilet, heard a bubble. And she delivered the baby in the toilet. We ended up pulling the baby out and bringing her back to life. And it's kind of funny, but I went to church with this couple who had foster kids. They ended up getting that kid as a foster kid.
Oh, wow.
And turned out to be a pretty good story, but that was another crazy.
So you got to see that child grow up.
Yeah, got to see that child grow up.
There you go, Chuck.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really awesome. I never seen that, and honestly, that was the one thing that I never got to do in my career in law enforcement is deliver a baby. And oh boy, did I try!
Yeah,
did you really?
Did I try?
Man, I said no, Jesus. I said,
I was ready.
I do not want to deliver a baby.
Yeah,
I do not. Oh man, on the list of things, holding somebody's hand while they die probably appeals more to me than delivering a baby, even though
Oh,
one
no.
is a terrible, awful event, and the other one is this spectacular celebration of new life. I know I can do the holding somebody's hand while they die. I'm terrified of screwing up delivering a baby.
Yeah. I know it is kind of fearful you think about it, but when it happens,
Yes,
man,
women have been doing it
you
without
have
our help
instincts and
for
you just make it happen, right?
thousands of years, right? Like I get it.
Yeah.
Like it's a natural thing.
Right.
But it was seriously one of those things where I'm like, I really don't want to have to do that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
And honestly, it's kind of like a daunting thing when you think about it. But when it actively start happening in front of you, you're like, okay, let's do it. And man, boy, did I try. And she was just too seasoned. It was her fifth kid, and she's like, I'm getting my Panda Express. And I was like, you're in active labor. You need to. This is happening. She's like, I know when it's gonna happen. And I'm like, all right. She drove off.
Yeah,
and I was like,
by the fifth kid, they know, and like they can do it by themselves. They're like, just give me a basket.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, they got it down. That's for sure.
Right.
But crazy stuff. I went to the LA riots on an engine.
Oh,
that was
how
wild.
was that?
In 2020?
That was 1996.
Oh, different LA riot.
Yeah, LA riots. Yes.
Yes.
There've been two now.
Yep. Yeah,
They're the Watts riots. Well, there's
so I ended up in Long Beach. Long Beach got hammered just as bad as downtown LA.
LBC.
Just didn't get the notoriety, but it was crazy. I remember responding up to LA. They had us meet in headquarters in Los Angeles Fire Department. There was columns coming up everywhere in the city. It was this stuff burning. It was nuts. And they said, we're going to send you to Long Beach and we're going to put you in a task force. So, okay. So we had a strike team, 5 engines from San Diego County. Went up there, and I remember it was a South Bay, kind of were broken into zones. We were Heartland, Central Zone, and they had a South Bay. And South Bay didn't have enough units, so they pulled one of our unit, Heartland units was my unit, and I went with that group. So the chief was from Chula Vista, and I remember they took us to the busiest station at the time was Station 10 in Long Beach. And of course, the Chula Vista engine got assigned to the fire task force. And then they wanted what they called a rescue task force, which you were tiered up with a paramedic unit and you went to rescues and medical aids and what fires and everything. So I remember it's kind of a little humorous, but he turned to the National City captain and said, hey, we're going to make you the medical or rescue task force. And the captain's like, he's kind of whining. Chief, I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm just going to run medical aids the whole time. You're putting me on a medical aid thing. And so the chief looked at me and goes, hey, Ken, do you mind? I said, I'll do whatever you want, Chief. That's just how I roll. So we ended up with the rescue task force. Well, since we were running calls and there was fires all over the place, we were jumping fires all the time. We ended up being the busiest company of all those task force. I think we went 72 hours without sleep. Just call to call to call. It was wild. Wow. Go to medical aids. We were going to shooting. It was surreal because it was like it was war, you know.
Right.
We were on calls and there's gunfire going off in the city. I remember we had to take refuge in houses. They ended up signing an FBI agent that rode on the engine with us. We had a 3-person crew. Wow. So he was our 4th person. Loaded up, flash grenades, MP5. And then we had a Long Beach police unit that escorted us. So everywhere we went, they'd set up a perimeter and stuff. It was pretty wild, but we were being shot at, but we went to a ton of fires. We'd be rolling down the street, Molotov cocktails onto the roof. We'd pull up.
Holy shit.
Fighting fire. I remember the Chula Vista captain, he was in the station. So by the time they got there, we'd have the fire knocked down. He goes, dude, can you save some for us? I'm like, we're doing our job, man.
Busy. And that.
Go ahead.
Oh, continue. No, go for it. Continue.
So we were going, I remember we were going, there was a couple incidents. There was this like 5-story building, commercial building. And I heard the chief go, yeah, there's fire in here. You know, it's been burning. We're just going to leave it. So we're going to clear the call. When we went by, it was Long Beach and Pacific Coast Highway. We went by it. I looked at my engineer and there's smoke rolling off the building. I go, is that the one the chief says is going to burn? He goes, yeah. I go, man, there's a lot of fire in that building. So we were going to medical aid. So we went, and then we hear them tone out a couple of task force to that building that's burning. So I came up on the radio and I said, hey, do you want us to respond to that fire? And they go, no, we're going to keep you available. I said, okay. So I told the medics and I said, let's cruise by there and we'll just watch. So we're parked on the PCH. And the IC sees us over there and he goes, are you guys assigned? I said, no, we're available. He goes, you're now assigned. So we got there and fought fire all night. It was pretty wild.
Wow.
I'm not saying you dispatched yourselves.
No, we're just driving by on the way back to the
That's
station.
right.
I may
Lucky
have been known
loser.
to do that a time or two if you talk to my firefighter buddies.
Uh-huh.
I kind of have this reputation that I just have this instinct. I happen to be where there's fires, not only fires, medical aids, crashes, on or off duty. Just the shit magnet guy.
I was going to say the
Yeah,
technical term is shit magnet.
Shit magnet. Yeah.
We have a few of those guys.
My career, but it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of fire. You know, some of those complexes. I remember we had a commercial strip that was burning, and basically we knocked it down. Then they bring dozers and just knock it down and leave it and go to the next fire. That's how crazy it was. They just didn't have enough.
And that
reason.
was during the riots.
That was during the riots, and the cops were awesome. We worked really close together. I mean, it is a brother and sisterhood.
Yes,
police and fire.
I bet
we give each other a hard time, but we really are one family.
100%.
Yeah.
I bet you heard shots ringing out the whole time you were at the riots, because I talked to some coppers, especially some LAPD ones who were in the riots, and they would say that when they would check out all their gear, they would get a compliment of 5.56 rounds and stuff like that for all their weapons, and then they would have to let them know at the end of the night how many you were returning with, because they knew that there were going to be officer involved shootings, because they were going to be getting shot at and they were going to have to return fire. But because there was no one in the city available for backing or anything like that, because it was just such a freaking war zone, that they were just like, hey, you're on your own. Hey, you got you and your unit.
There's a pile of ammo over there. When you need it, go get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was
like,
nuts. There was gunfire going off, and you know, they had martial law at night, and it was just weird going down the street, eerie, weird. And the people of the businesses were on top of their roofs with
roof Koreans
protecting their own property. Wow. I mean, it was wild. I was like, it's probably as close to war as I'm going to get. But
I've had a story shared with me about roof Koreans that I don't share without permission from the story owner.
The Korean.
Like, they were no joke, right?
They were not letting their place get robbed and vandalized for sure.
Way. So
yeah, I think that was 91, and it was really hot. I mean, people were it was unusually hot for that. I think it was in April or something like that. So people were pretty much on edge. It was pretty wild. So that was a pretty crazy time. And one other story is I got to share. I was on a second alarm fire. I was an engine captain, and we got dispatched to a large residential house. And basically, they had linseed oil rags. Those cause a lot of fire, by the way. You don't ever want to file them. But apparently, they just finished building this house. They had the linseed oil from doing the cabinets, and it caught on fire. Caught the house on fire, and actually trapped the people in the house. There's 3 people trapped. And I was on the second alarm. The folks on the first alarm went in to rescue. They pulled one out, and then the firefighters got trapped in there. And I was the first engine to arrive on the second alarm. And I remember we laid a line, and he said, our guys are still trapped in there, the chief did. So we pulled a line and actually went in there and put a water curtain up to get them to come, the firefighters to come out and rescue the residents there. That was pretty wild. A lot of fire. It was really cranking, but
I mean, they had just
tight.
And their cabinets in linseed oil, and the rest of the linseed oil was still sitting there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that stuff is I've been to so many linseed rag fires that burn houses down. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They can spontaneously combust and just you have to let them air out those rags and stuff. You have to let air out. Yeah,
for sure. And you get into that. If you get into we could talk about all the stuff that makes, you know, coffee creamer can be a terrible thing, you know, like the stuff that we could get into where you realize that the air fuel mixture is really the important thing, right? Like the idea that powdered coffee creamer can be just fine and inert until you mix it with an air fuel mixture like a carburetor and then ignite it with a match and it blows up. Like, it's just crazy to me that people they have no idea the kinetic energy that some of these things in their house have.
Right.
Like, it's Christmas trees, you know.
Yeah. Oh, those things, man. I've done a lot of those fires too.
Yeah.
And they're the real deal, man. They flash like gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah. They will whoosh. That was the scene in Christmas Vacation where you just hear whoosh.
Yep. That's what it does.
That's about right.
And then your house is burning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, shoot, we're already at the end. That was a good time, Ken. We've had a blast chatting with you. But we also like to make sure that we give our guests a chance to dedicate their episode to someone. And I understand you have a very important dedication.
I do. My brother, Mark, he's a year younger. Like I said, we're Irish twins. Grew up together. He's my best friend. I talk to him on the phone every day. He died of cancer too young, 53 years old. But, from the job, he retired as a lieutenant from Borrego Springs Fire Department. So I dedicated to him and all my other brothers and sisters. And I lost a wife to cancer at 43. So I was pretty young. So I know cancer, it's out there. So I'm a big supporter of trying to keep people safe and healthy and keep them from being exposed to those things as much as we can. We still do a hazardous job, just like the military, just like you guys getting shot at. We're being exposed to all kinds of crazy stuff. But I just want to dedicate to him because I miss him every day, as well as my wife. But, that's unfortunately his life. And so we keep moving forward.
And make no mistake, as we talked about earlier, a cancer death in the fire service is pretty much an on-duty death.
Yeah.
There's only one real way to slice it.
Yeah.
So rest easy, brother. We've got it from here.
Yeah. Appreciate it. I just like to leave you with my quote. I call it my life quote, but life begins the end of your comfort zone. So I like to live life large and every day, and I think you need to do that. I think when you step out, the gains are much bigger than if you just don't do that. And unfortunately, life is life and you come across tragedy, but it's important to keep moving forward and help the people that are around you, your family, your friends. And that's why we do what we do. We're serving the public. So
yeah,
you guys.
100%.
No. Well, we appreciate you coming on here and sharing your stories with us. And we keep talking about this stuff because we think it's important and we kind of think it's interesting. And lots of people, they don't get to experience this stuff the way we do. And then some people do get to experience it. And either way, if you're experiencing this yourself, it helps to talk about it. It helps to hear other people that are just as crazy as you are for walking into buildings that are so covered in smoke. It's like being in a pitch black room.
Yep. I know. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
With moving walls.
In our careers, we're responding to people that's their life emergency. It's probably the biggest thing that's impacted their life. And we're there to help them solve that problem and get through it. So,
well, all right, Ken, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you if you have any, you have anything that if people want to reach out to you?
Yeah. I work for the Borrego Fire Department. I have a Facebook page, Ken Kremetsky, and then I have an Instagram also. I have a couple accounts there, Fire4102, and then the other, you can see my stuff. I do a lot of traveling. I'm also a storm chaser. I chase tornadoes. I'm kind of crazy guy, but meteorology is another. Weather and fire kind of go together. I do that.
You share that on YouTube. Fire department. Now you got to go chase tornadoes.
Yeah, but I do a lot of traveling, so I post a ton of pictures of I do photography is one of my hobbies, and so I just try and inspire people to get out there and live life and enjoy every day because we're not promised tomorrow. So live for today as best you can and make a difference.
Damn right. Well,
100%.
Yep. On that note, Chuck, what do you got for us?
Well, I want to say thank you, Ken, for coming on. You are a true hero. And if you have a YouTube where you can be reached for all of your escapades with chasing tornadoes, that would be amazing to watch because it's like real life twisters. And I want to say thank you all for tuning in today. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, in today's episode, make sure to follow us on Instagram at war_stories_official and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. If you already follow us, we'd really appreciate it if you could share our posts and help spread the word. You can also check out the link in our bio on both platforms to find all of our social media links, and our website. Our podcast is available on all major streaming platforms, including YouTube. If you'd like to support us, head over to our website at www.warstoriesofficial.com. Grab some merch. Do you have a story to tell? Or you know someone who does? We're always looking for law enforcement, corrections officers, dispatchers, firefighters, medics, and veterans, but also those ER nurses and ER docs, because you guys have some crazy stories. If you're interested, email us at booking.warstories@gmail.com and share your story. We'd love to have you on. If you know someone who would be a great fit, please send them our way. Thank you again for all the support. Stay safe.
Yeah. And until our next episode, come home with your shield or on it.